A New York City grand jury, they just indicted Daniel Penny for protecting innocent bystanders from this creep, from this psychopath, from this guy who went completely berserk on a New York subway, Jordan Neely. Okay, so they just indicted Daniel Penny. This was a dangerous madman in New York. And look, I mean, these people are cowards. Whoever indicted, I don't know what this New York City grand jury, bunch of woke losers. This guy is facing 15 years. I've broken this story down for you. Jordan Neely had over 40 arrest warrants. He had an outstanding warrant for felony assault. Felony assault in the state of New York is vicious brutality against somebody else on purpose. If you try to stand up to a criminal in blue cities, and I'm looking at Bloomington Normal, we are a blue city, and we're in a blue state, your leaders will find every excuse they can to side with the criminal. That's just where we're at, folks. Be careful out there. Get some insurance. Get some self-defense insurance. Be careful, because your leaders, they're going to do everything they can to side with the criminal nowadays. This is disgraceful. 309-451-9299. You can text in. You can also be a part of the show by watching on Facebook or on YouTube Live. Pack show. And I say that all the time, but really it is a pack show today. We've got the indictment. We've got Governor J.B. Pritzker just recently signing this groomer bill is what I'm going to call it. It's a groomer bill where he's A-okay with pornography being on the shelves in your schools and in your libraries. So I'm going to touch on that. But first, Jerry Nadler. He's a Democrat, folks, and he's claiming today, well, yesterday, June 14th, in 2023, that it's child abuse if you don't mask up your 2-year-old kid. So if you're not masking up your 2-year-old, then you are committing child abuse against your child for not masking the kid. So Chip Roy absolutely just shreds this guy, Nadler, Jerry Nadler. Go Chip Roy, love Chip Roy. Next, we've got our pronouns are USA. Yes, my pronouns are USA. These middle school students, they're actually starting to rebel against these pride celebrations. And for any kiddos listening, I know some of y'all, you might be listening on your way to school with your parents. I try to keep it PG-13 for you. The pride celebration, you don't have to bend the knee, kiddos. If you don't like it, and if you don't want to be a part of it, then you can step out and say, nah, not for me. It doesn't have to be forced on you. And I've got a story to share with the kiddos today. Your pronouns are USA. You don't have to be forced by a teacher to say your pronouns. You don't have to be forced by a teacher to bend the knee to the rainbow. You don't have to do it. Later, Conservative, I think he's a dad, Conservative is going viral, and he shares some powerful words. And dads, this is for you. Father's Day is this Sunday. And I have a message, a step-by-step guide on how to best protect your kids from predators. And it's just 3 simple words, okay? Powerful words. Be a threat. Be a threat. With Governor J.B. Pritzker signing this bill, folks, I'm just going to start to play defense here. We've got to start playing defense because offense didn't work. And he's already signed it. People are going to be sitting down your child, teachers, public school libraries, public libraries, school libraries. People are going to be sitting down your kids and having conversations with them about inappropriate sex things, sexual conversations. They're going to be having inappropriate sexual conversations with them. And you have to be prepared as a parent. And there's ways that you can combat and protect your kids, combat predators and protect your kids from predators. That's the world we're living in. 309-451-9299. Like I said, I am on the live stream, YouTube, and on Facebook, also on Rumble and Twitter. This is The Morning. All right, let's get into it. 2-year-olds. I guess it's a crime or it's child abuse for parents to not mask up their 2-year-olds. Yes. You won't believe this clip I'm about to play for you. It's from yesterday, June 14th, 2023. This isn't from June 2020. Even I was skeptical. I came across this video and I was like, there's no way. And then I checked the date and then I was like, wow, no, he actually said this. Um, Maybe he had woken up in this this morning and chose violence. The guy who decided to share this out, it was Greg Price. He does this a lot on Twitter. He gets clips. And he's not known for doing really clickbaity type things. He just kind of does these things on Twitter and he clips things from the day. And I was like, I don't know, maybe Greg Price has it out for this guy, this Jerry Nadler Democrat. And I was like, I don't know, who am I to judge on Greg Price? But no, I checked the date, double checked it, triple checked it. It is from June 14th, yesterday, 2023, day 780-ish to flatten the curve here around 12:45 p.m. Central Time. This Democrat congressman, Jerry Nadler, took to the floor of Congress and said the following things. 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do this. The only way to protect them against COVID was to have them wear masks. These mandates are meant to protect the public health and safety, the public's health and safety. Whoa. Okay, don't believe me? Here he is on the U.S. House floor saying that. Here we go.
The disease to the next person. And the healthcare worker certainly ought to be required to be vaccinated. And when we have a pandemic like COVID-19 pandemic that we had, 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do that because there was no vaccination available for 2-year-olds. And the only way to protect them, it protects against transmission of the disease.
No.
The next person.
This can't be happening. This is happening in 2023, folks. Okay, this clip that I just played for you. It wasn't during the golden days of the pandemic when people were screaming at you, you're killing grandma for not wearing a mask. I'm not kidding you. I almost got kicked out of Portillo's for not wearing a mask in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. I stopped wearing the mask pretty early on. I had to wear it to college. I wore that to college whatever days I had to go. Otherwise, they would literally kick you out. We know now that masks don't work, and that was completely insane. This clip didn't also take place in December of 2021, where at that point, and by December of 2021, people are like, I don't know, like this mask thing, it just doesn't seem to be working. Now, there were some stragglers. There were those diehards, right, in their car alone with the mask on in December of 2021. But this clip didn't even take place in 2021. It took place June 2023. So a ranking member of the Democrat Party, close to 800 days after the pandemic began, accused parents of child abuse for not masking up their 2-year-olds. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to go out there and say this. Masking up any child, yes, I went there, masking up any child is child abuse. Covering the face of your child is wrong. Thankfully, we had Chip Roy step up, and he just totally barbecued this guy, Jerry Nadler, the Democrat. Let's take a listen, shall we?
The American people from the tyrannical state of the executive branch, but in this case, my Democratic colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I want everybody in America to understand what they just heard from the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee in the United States House of Representatives. Your 2-year-old should be forced to be masked. That is what the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee just said here on the floor of the House of Representatives, that the power of the government, the full power of the federal government, should be a part of ensuring and forcing your children, your 2-year-old child, to be masked. We heard it yesterday when the Secretary of HHS refused to actually answer that question. So I'm really glad to hear that the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee acknowledges what everybody in America understands, which is that the Democratic Party, led by the president and by my Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate, are fully comfortable with the power of the government being used to shut down your businesses, force you out of work, unless you take an experimental vaccine that has not been proven to actually do what the gentleman just said, which is with respect to transmissions. More importantly, my father, who's 80 years old, is dealing with the ravages of polio. I firmly understand the importance of vaccines, and I'm proud that my children and I have been able to be protected by those vaccines, fully tested after years of testing. But to say that this politicized vaccine should have been used to shut down the economy and to kill the ability of my constituents to be able to go out about their lives and to force children into the corner wearing masks to get set back years in their education, that is precisely why this amendment matters. It is precisely why we're here reining in the federal government, and it is precisely why this amendment would make this a better.
Woo! Chip Roy. There he is. Chip Roy. I mean, what else can be said? What else can be said? And one thing that y'all need to know about, I found this. So you guys remember that conspiracy theory, where COVID-19 was a bioweapons leak. They were working on biological weapons, and it accidentally leaked out. Well, it turns out that the U.S. State Department officials have been investigating the pandemic source, and there's been new allegations from, yes, our government, based on hundreds of documents, including confidential reports, memos, emails, scientific papers, as well as interviews conducted with the U.S. State Department officials who have investigated the pandemic source. The report claims that researchers from the Wuhan lab were taken to the hospital with COVID-like symptoms in November of 2019. So this was in November of 2019. They were all working on this bioweapons, biowarfare, a recent report done by the Sunday Times. This is the mainstream news, folks, saying that this is possible, where they were working on bioweaponry. And don't dismiss that, folks. Bioweaponry. They were working on bioweaponry, the Chinese military. And they say that there's evidence that China was developing dangerous coronaviruses. This dates all the way back to 2014. This is nothing new. 2016, I think it's 2016, 2014, somewhere around there. And then in 2019, that's when researchers in the lab started to get hospitalized. They started to die. And then in 2020, that's when the lab leak happened. The Chinese military, they're saying that they were developing dangerous coronavirus in collaboration with the Chinese military for the alleged purposes of biowarfare. This research program was likely the source of the pandemic, the report asserts. This is a report done by not right-wing media. This is a report done by The Times, the Sunday Times. I mean, wow. Remember when you said that? Oh, I don't know, back in 2020? And now they're coming out and saying that that is actually true. That's possible. We have the government, the U.S. State Department conducting interviews that prove that that's true. So what's going to happen to China? Nothing. 309-451-9299. Do have to take a break. Wow, that first segment just flies by, folks. I'm so excited to come back. We've got so much to talk about. Now, there's one thing that y'all need to know about. These pronouns that are forced on these middle school aged children in Massachusetts. And this story, folks, get your kids, grab them from, them brushing their teeth, getting ready. Oh, school's out. School's out. I can't believe it. So school's out. They're brushing their teeth this morning. Get them out of the bathroom, pull them aside, get them at the dinner table, at the breakfast table, and sit them down, plant them in front of the radio, and say, hey, you don't have to let these schools force this down your throat. Look at what these kids at this middle school in Massachusetts did. That's next. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much. If you're watching right now, smash the like button, hit the like button, and be sure to share this out with your friends. Okay, so we've got so much to tackle today. Like I said, China is facing renewed allegations that the COVID-19 outbreak was caused by a leak from one of their laboratories and that this research was, in fact, connected to biowarfare. Remember that little conspiracy theory? Whenever you shared anything out about that possibly being the case, they marked it as misinformation. Well, it turns out that it's not such misinformation to where we've got the U.S. State Department conducting interviews and evidence that suggests that actually proves that this was a part of a bioweapons lab leak and the Chinese military was doing bioweaponry. And yet they were all upset when Donald Trump called it the Chinese virus. Here China was working on dangerous bioweapons, and it leaks out. It was killing off their own researchers. So this all started back in like 2016 or something like that. Let's just go back into the Wayback Machine here. 2016, they were working on these coronaviruses, and what they were working on them for the purpose of working on these coronaviruses was to kill people. This is a bioweapon. They want to kill people. They want to use it in their military. And they were working with the military, this lab in Wuhan. But they said it was from the wet markets. They said it was from the bats. They said it was from some cave. Are you kidding me right now? And now it's proven. Now it's proven that this is likely come from a bioweapons lab and that it leaked out, whether intentionally, not intentionally, we'll see. I think that it was intentional. There's been a lot of people who have come out and have said that this was an intentional attack on the United States and on others on the globe. Uh, so I don't know. We'll have to see. My conspiracy theories have all checked out so far. So we'll see about it being intentional. I'm saying today, June 15, 2023, I would not doubt, throw in the comments. Do you think that it was intentional, the Wuhan lab leak? Or do you not think it was intentional? 309-451-9299. You can also text if you don't want to comment. There's a couple of more stories. Today we are going to get to Andrew Weissman. Andrew Weissman. He's got Donald Trump derangement syndrome very, very bad. So Andrew Weissman is trying to push, along with other leftists, they're trying to push Jack Smith, who has the indictment against Donald Trump, to move the case from the Southern District of Florida to New Jersey. You know, that kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? Raise your hand if that sounds familiar. Uh, that's kind of something that's going on here in the state of Illinois. So what the state of Illinois is doing, you can't file suit against the state if you're in Cook County, Will County. You can't go or if you're in Will County, Macon County, McLean County, you can't go file suit against the state in those counties. There's only two specific counties that you can go file suit in, and that is Cook County and Sangamon County, Chicago and Springfield. And this was measure that was passed and signed off right away and put into place. This is called judge shopping. Governor J.B. Pritzker is scared. I was going to say something. Is scared, and he is judge shopping, and he is trying to make it to where these liberal, favorable judges listen to these cases. Now, Illinois has several against them. We have the Second Amendment assault weapons ban, where it bans magazines with over 15 rounds, something like that, a certain caliber of bullet. This assault weapons ban. There's a case against them. In that, there's a case against them with Amendment 1 because Amendment 1 was unconstitutional. They didn't go through the right procedures to get that amendment on the ballot. It was supposed to be on a separate ballot, and it was supposed to be worded, the actual amendment itself, on the ballot, but they didn't do that, which is unconstitutional. And then the Safety Act, which is also unconstitutional. It ends cash bail. What else? There's so much. In Will County, there's an election case against the State Board of Elections. The county clerk there, Will County clerk, got more votes than Governor J.B. Pritzker, which is just odd. It's not impossible, but it's odd. People checked into it, and there's mathematicians who ran the numbers, and they found that the vote totals in Will County don't quite that they all add up to the specific algorithm when it's applied to each and every precinct. There's over 300 precincts, and that's wildly unlikely. Like mathematics, probability, right? Statistical analysis. It was all done by experts, people who have done cases with Kerry Lake in Arizona, people who have done cases in Fulton County, Georgia. They reviewed this, and there's a case against Will County in the State Board of Elections. So there's a lot of things happening right now against the state of Illinois. I'm probably missing a few others. But that's what the state of Illinois is doing. They're judge shopping because they're scared shootless, Adam Schiffless. Okay, they're scared. The state of Illinois is scared about all of these cases coming against them. Now, Jack Smith is scared about this Mar-a-Lago case, the Southern District of Florida. So that's why he's doing this jury shopping, where he decides to take it from the Southern District of Florida, move it up to New Jersey, because he thinks that there's going to be a liberal jury there. Okay, have you got your kids? Are they around the breakfast table? Did you grab them? Did you pull them out of their bed this morning? Most likely they're not up at 6:30 a.m. I was a weirdo. When I was a kid, I was always up with my dad. My dad was a very early riser, and I've just always been an early riser. So get your kids, get them out of bed, sit them down in front of the radio, and let's have a chat. Because kiddos, you do not have to have this LGBTQ pride, the pride parades. You don't have to have that stuff forced down your throat if you don't want it. Okay. Now, this is a great story coming out of Massachusetts, of all places, where we have these kids chanting in the hallways, "Our pronouns are USA. Our pronouns are USA." And these are middle school students who are rebelling against these pride celebrations being forced onto them. You do not have to stand for that. And I love this. A bunch of middle schoolers, they protested pride celebrations at their school. So this happened last week. Students at this Massachusetts middle school revolted against pride celebrations. Yes, that Massachusetts. It can happen in a blue state like Illinois, like Massachusetts. 71.5% of people voted Democrat in that state, the last presidential election. So that's just some flavor to this, okay? It's a blue state. You can do this in a blue state. A bunch of middle schoolers, they protested the pride celebrations at school. They wore these red, white, and blue clothings, cloths, and flags. They had flags instead of this rainbow clothes, and they started shouting, quote, "USA are my pronouns. USA are my pronouns." And they took down the pride flag that was featured there at the school. So let's take a listen here to the school board's reaction to the students doing this. Deeply disturbing that we've got a school board reacting in this way. And it just goes to show you some kids are just smarter than adults. Now, kids, don't take that and run with it. Your kid, listen to your parents. But there are some adults out there who are just not as smart as you are. And if you don't want this pride stuff shoved down your throat, you don't have to take it anymore. Take a listen to what these school board members were saying about the kids who were chanting, "USA are my pronouns."
These displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable.
This type of intolerant rhetoric starts in the home.
Parents angry at town hall over intolerance at Marshall Simons Middle School. Kids were asked to wear rainbow clothes in honor of Pride Spirit Day, but some organized a counter protest wearing red, white, and blue or black. The principal sharing a statement to families that Pride posters were ripped down, stickers ripped up. Some students chanted "USA are my pronouns," and students showing Pride were intimidated.
It was an unruly disruption, in fact, that was organized ahead of time.
While some parents were upset, others say it was overblown.
Some of the kids threw the stickers on the ground, but I can only speak for my daughter. She didn't want to wear that to school. It's not that she wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
She says her daughter felt coerced to participate in the Pride event and was offended by some of the messages, like this quote from Tennessee Williams.
Human heart cannot be straight. It is curves and winds. And my daughter just kind of said, Mom, that's offensive to me, who I am straight.
But even parents like her, opposed to the Pride Month celebration, say the ripping of posters was wrong.
I think destructing any property is wrong. I think, I just think that was wrong.
Parents and community groups now calling for the town and school board to act and support diversity, equity, and inclusion. The incident sparking discussion at home on both sides.
My thing that I teach my kids is just be kind. And I wish the schools would just kind of pump the brakes on what they're shoving down these kids' throats.
The issue of pride in schools is very controversial. I understand that. I think we need to start at a place of commonality.
Now, the principal says that no one was forced to participate in the Pride Day event, but now parents on both sides want dialogue. Live in Burlington, Sean Shiabat, WCVB News Center 5.
They are forced. That's the thing, though, because they're kids. And having pride everywhere and having these stickers on the wall that say, quote, no one is straight is offensive. It's offensive to these little children who might be straight. Also, there at the Massachusetts middle school, there was a student who was told that he could not wear a shirt that says there are two genders. The peers didn't care, but guess what? The teachers and administrators, they were big mad. They were super offended by his shirt, and they told him to take it off. And look, folks, you are winning. You are winning. The mainstream advertising works. They are trying to condition you with all of this advertising that you are in the minority. You are not. Here it is, a Gallup poll. A larger majority of Americans now, 69%, that's near 70%, than in 2021, 62% say transgender athletes should only be allowed to compete on sports teams that conform with their birth gender. So a lot of Americans, they don't like this. There's a video going viral this week. I have to take a break, but this is of a man, I assume a dad, and dads, it's Father's Day. There's a little bit of advice for you I have, and this viral clip sums it up perfectly. And it has to deal with protecting your kids against predators. Governor J.B. Pritzker, what he just did was probably the most disgusting thing any governor has ever done, any leader has ever done in United States history. He's allowing pornography on public library shelves in kids sections. I've seen it. I've been there. I've been to the Bloomington Public Library. I saw it with my own two eyes. I've seen it in schools. I've heard from parents, from students who are uncomfortable with the pornography on the shelves. There is something called harmful material, and in Illinois law, you cannot share that with minors. And he's calling it book banning. So he signs this book banning legislation. There's nothing you can do at this point other than, one, speak out like these middle schoolers at the Massachusetts middle school did, or two, get ready to protect your kids against predators. And there's one way, and I've got it summed up in 3 powerful words next. There's one way you can protect your kids from predators. I've got it here next. The Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here on the live stream. If you are watching right now, smash that like button. Let's go ahead and get to some comments this morning. Good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in. Think of Ruth, my bus driver. I believe. Very nice. My old bus driver. She was awesome, folks. Let's talk about this. Indictments are a joke. I was on the grand jury in LaSalle County for 6 months, or 6 years ago, for 6 months years ago. Okay. Guess what? 100% go to trial. In fact, 100% have in the whole history of the grand jury. You could indict a ham sandwich. Yes, that is saying you could indict a ham sandwich. It's all one-sided. You only hear from the DA or the prosecutor, and maybe testimony from an officer. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I've got a story about Andrew Weissman. So Andrew Weissman is out there trying to push this Jack Smith, who's the guy going up against Donald Trump, indicting Donald Trump in the Southern District in Florida, and they're panicking. So they're trying to push to move this Trump case from Miami to New Jersey. Um, and folks, it's so obvious. This is so obvious that this is a joke. They are running scared because they know this case is bunk. They know it. Special counsel, this is from a Drudge report, and we're going to get to this, the entire Drudge report, but Jack Smith could feasibly bring dissemination charges in a separate indictment against President Donald Trump related to his handling of classified documents at his Bedminster, New Jersey golf resort, legal experts argued in a Wednesday analysis from The Atlantic. So they're pushing this out there. They want to get it in New York or New Jersey now because they're jury shopping. That's what this is. And Andrew Weissman has Trump derangement syndrome so bad. Also, did y'all hear about the Republicans who couldn't even manage to censor Adam Schiff for lying deliberately? Leaking secret information to frame a sitting president and nullify a Democratic election. This is insane. The fact that we had House Republicans out there who would not vote to express severe disapproval of someone. This is what censure is. And yeah, so that we had House Republicans not even willing to go out there and express a severe disapproval of Adam Schiff for lying about the Russia hoax. So that's where we're at, folks. We have Democrats, Republicans, a uniparty, because the fact that we've got this attack, I mean, Donald Trump could be facing 100 years with what they've charged him, these 37 counts, federal charges, right? Federal violations, 37 counts. He could be facing 100 years in prison for a paperwork dispute. But we're not going to go after Adam Schiff for literally lying, leaking out all kinds of secret information to try to frame somebody who was duly elected by you and I. And he wanted to nullify this Democratic election, the 2016 election. He tried to say that it was taken by Russia, and it wasn't. The Durham report proves that this was not a stolen election. Russia did not interfere. What Hillary Clinton did, she paid operatives to spy on Donald Trump's campaign and then created a hoax and tried to make it look like Russia was involved in our elections. But she was the one who paid these operatives to go do all of this. She paid them. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that we've got some Republicans, I have the picture of all of the Republicans. DC Drano tweeted it out. Love DC Drano. Go follow him on Twitter. But I have the picture of all of the Republicans who voted yes on this thing, or voted to not censure Adam Schiff. And I have their phone numbers too. If you want that, you can text me at 309-451-9299 and I'll go ahead and send that to you. Hey, if you're watching right now, be sure to smash the like button. Smash it right now. Smash it. And share this out with your friends. It's so important that we get real information out there when it comes to the state of Illinois, when it comes to local stuff here. It's so important when you share this video out. It really helps us out and it helps us continue what we're doing. We are not NPR. We don't get donations. We don't do any of that stuff. I don't ask you guys to pay for certain subscriptions for content. I do ask that you share out this content because it's important to wake people up. And we are on Rumble. We are trying to become something not of the legacy media. I see the writing on the wall. This is why we've started the streaming. I see the writing on the wall. Legacy media is dying. People don't trust it. And this is our way of adapting and trying to get with the times here, where people don't trust legacy media. So it's very important that you guys like, share this, and tell your friends, invite them to like the page, the City's 92.9 page. So Donald Trump, he's facing possibly 100 years in prison. I don't think it's going to happen. There's no way they get a conviction. This is a paperwork dispute. I've talked about the Presidential Records Act before. Donald Trump is the original classification authority. The president has the original classification authority. This is a paperwork dispute, and they're trying to trump him up on all kinds of charges, 37 of them. This is prosecution and persecution of Donald Trump. So he could possibly be facing 100 years if he were to be convicted. Meanwhile, we've got over in the House some Republicans, and I've done the honors and posted their phone numbers on my page. And don't call them, and don't bother them, folks. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I've posted their phone numbers on my Facebook page. Go follow me and give them a call and ask them why they couldn't even manage to censure Adam Schiff. So censure, this is basically a slap on the wrist. It's not like removing him from office or anything like that. It's not convicting him of anything, charging him with anything. Basically, this is saying, it's a strong statement. Hey, we disapprove of what you've done. That's all this is. And there were House Republicans, I don't know, a handful of them, probably about 20. The coward 20. They voted with Democrats to protect Adam Schiff from fines and from being censured. And I certainly don't want their contact information circulating out there, folks. I certainly don't. Although I did share it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Look, Adam Schiff was lying. He deliberately was leaking secret information to try to frame a sitting, duly elected president, and he was trying to nullify a Democratic election. Democrats, they play for keeps, and Republicans don't even play at all. These are cowardly Republicans, and they need to be removed. You need to remove them. I've got their picture up on my social media page and their phone numbers. Also, disturbing news this morning. Daniel Penny, he's the guy, put the guy in the chokehold. I don't even know if he really, I would love to see that autopsy, and I would love to review it. They're ruling his death a homicide. The medical examiner's office, I don't know. When I saw the video footage, his chest was rising after the fact of him subduing him and holding him. It wasn't just Daniel Penny either, who was trying to protect these innocent bystanders from Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely is a dangerous psychopath. He's a madman in New York. He was known to be the guy who terrorized people on the New York subways. And he had 41 arrest warrants at the time of his death here. And he had one outstanding arrest warrant for felony assault. Felony assault in the state of New York is a big deal. You can go to prison for felony assault in the state of New York for up to 15 years. So he brutally and intentionally, that's what the definition of felony assault in the New York is, this intentional act of beating somebody and hurting somebody. He intentionally tried to cause harm to somebody. And look, I'm just going to say it right now. If you stand up to a criminal in a blue city, and if you're in Bloomington Normal, these are blue cities, your leaders will find every excuse they can to side with the criminal. It's just the facts. We live in the state of Illinois. The Safety Act, the system is designed to protect criminals. We don't have prosecutors. We have defense attorneys and we have defense attorneys. That's what we don't have prosecutors. There should be a balance to the justice system where we have prosecutors who prosecute crime on behalf of us, the United States citizens, on behalf of Illinoisans. We have a crappy attorney general who should be checking in with these states' attorneys and making sure they're doing their jobs. Uh, but the state's attorney, it's an elected position, right? And they are supposed to be acting on behalf of the people and they should be prosecuting crimes. But what they're doing, they're playing cutesy time with the defense attorneys, and they themselves are defense attorneys. Erica Reynolds, not talking about her. She here in McLean County, we are kind of an exception. We still have a slight lead when it comes to county government. I would say not slightly, it's kind of balanced. The county board is half and half Democrat, half Republican here in McLean County. But this is disgraceful, and we're starting to see this in and around Illinois, in and around these blue cities. So just to be careful, if you come face to face with a criminal, there's things that you can do to protect yourself, like get self-defense insurance. It's very, I have some self-defense insurance. I got some. It's only like $10 a month or something like that. This is just me trying to help you out. Okay, so that brings me to this story. A conservative sharing 3 powerful words on how dads can best protect their kids from predators. And here's the 3 words: be a threat. It's Father's Day, and we know that Governor J.B. Pritzker recently signed something. I'm calling it the groomer bill. He calls it the book banning bill, but really what it is, it if these public libraries and these school libraries take pornography off of their shelves, they will be reprimanded financially. So you can expect no schools and no public libraries to remove pornography from the shelves. I myself have gone into the Bloomington Public Library. I saw it. It was a couple of years ago. I went in the kids section, probably about five feet away from the kids area, and this was on a display shelf in the kids area. There were books. There was a book called Green Eggs and Ham. That's Dr. Seuss. Like that book was next to a very pornographic book, very pornographic book. And I took photos. It was a big news story. A lot of people came out and spoke against the school library or the public library, the Bloomington Public Library. Somebody should have been fired. Nobody was. Not shocked there, but being that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed this, you can expect, and you should expect, that there are going to be adults sitting down with your children, either A, giving them sexual content, or B, having inappropriate sexual content or inappropriate sexual conversations with them. And that's predatory. Okay. So this video is going viral this week. And this is some advice to the dads here in Illinois on protecting your kids. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
But if he perceived the father to be a threat, he stayed away, which tells us a few things, dads. 1, you better be a threat. But 2, you better be present enough in your child's life to where they know you're a threat. And I would say it tells us one more thing that's very interesting. There's a lot of people right now that seem hell-bent to have sexual conversations with our children without our knowledge. Those are the same people telling us that the very things that make you a threat are manifestations of toxic masculinity. So maybe we shouldn't listen to those people.
Protect the kids. Protect the kids. Okay. So if you break it down into 2 pieces here, here's some keys to victory in protecting your children. Number 1, dads, be a threat. Number 2, be present enough in your kids' life that predators know you're a threat. And, I know I'm talking to the dads right now, but moms, you have a role to play in this too. You should be doing everything you can to support the dads in your life. Um, who are tasked with being that threat. So that way they can maintain their threat level status. You should do everything you possibly can to ensure that your dad, in your life, whether that's, the stepdad or, whoever is the key player in your kids' life, you need to do everything you can to make sure that that guy is perceived as a threat and whatever it takes to make sure he keeps that status. It's good advice, and it's advice that I would hope most dads don't need to hear because they know it already. But every adult your kid comes into contact with, comes across, should know that you would inflict above average amount of harm to them if they ever hurt one of your kids. It's one thing that best keeps away predators is that they know that you are a threat. 309-451-9299. Sorry. I know that's heavy stuff, but this viral video and it's Father's Day. Wanted to have a message out there for the dads, being that Governor JB Pritzker just passed this thing. Do want to talk about this guy. I have a Roomba. I've got a pretty funny story about Roomba, about my Roomba, personal story. I can't believe I'm gonna share it with you, but it's embarrassing. But I figured we're friends, so I'm just gonna tell you about this time where I chased the Roomba around my home, and I will never get a Roomba after this story because a man shares this terrifying warning of what happened to his entire Amazon smart home when he was accused of a racial slur. Somebody accused him of a racial slur, and Amazon shut down everything in his house. So stay away from robots, stay away from these smart home things. There's a way to get on your own network and uh, stay safe. So I'm going to tell you about this guy's story. Also, I have a personal story to share with you next. Hey, good morning, folks. I so do appreciate y'all from joining in and being a part of the show. Um, we don't have prosecutors. All you people do is complain when actual criminals, Donald J. Trump, gosh, man, Larry, you have got what's called Trump derangement syndrome. But here we go. I'll continue reading. Are indicted and carried on for years when um, HRC, what does that mean? Cannot be indicted because there is no evidence. I don't know who you're talking about here. HRC. Um, where you get the baby immaculate, where you get the I okay, this guy is seriously deranged. Okay, Colson, I've said it several times. You can't cuss on the page. We are going to be blocking you, man. Okay. I have no idea what this guy is talking about. Literally, if you guys can help me decipher this comment, I would be forever grateful. Um, Now, I brought up that we don't have prosecutors and we have just defense attorneys at this point because the prosecutors have been tasked by the state to be defense attorneys as well. There is a beautiful balance between defense attorney and prosecutor, and there is a defense attorneys who defend the criminals, alleged criminals, right? Who defend these people have a very important role when it comes to civil liberties, civil rights, things like that. You are supposed to be protecting the rights of those people. They have a right to a trial. They have a right to defend themselves in the court of law. You have a very noble task as a defense attorney. However, the role of a prosecutor is also very important. And when you're playing QC time with the defense attorney and constantly cutting deals with people and not putting these criminals in prison where they belong, then you run into situations where criminals are running amok and um, That's just the cold hard truth. And this isn't me just saying this. This is somebody who was in the uh, prosecutor role for years, like 20 plus years in Cook County, where they see more criminal cases come and go. And this guy had to resign because of how bad things got in the state of Illinois and in Cook County when it came to not being able to prosecute criminals. We have a system designed, and it's created by the state. It's all top down. And I'm not even blaming some of these prosecutors who are wishy washy, because it all comes from the state. If they don't comply with the state, then they're going to get in trouble. Now, me, if I were a prosecutor, I'd say, screw you. I was elected by the people here locally, and I'm not going to listen to your unconstitutional crap, because I also took an oath to the United States Constitution and to the Illinois Constitution. And it says that my role is supposed to be a prosecutor. So I'm not going to play cutesy time with the defense, and I'm not going to act on behalf of the criminal and try to treat the criminal with more respect than that of the people I was elected to serve, or the people that I am supposed to be serving in my role as a prosecutor. A lot of these prosecutors, state's attorneys, DAs, right? They're all elected. Um, and that means that they are beholden to you, the people. So I don't know, Larry, what you're talking about here. I really can't decipher this. I have no idea what you're talking about. I gave you examples, right? Let's just look at this one case. There was a case um, um, where I recently did it, identified as transgender, and it was here, I think, in um, Bloomington or something like that, where this guy had a history, of violence, had a history of domestic violence, beat up somebody in his family, and then wound up raping a kid, right? Was out on the streets because they played cutesy time with this criminal who was accused of beating somebody in his family, domestic violence, and they let him go because they played cutesy time with him. If you break the law, you should be thrown into jail for a long time. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. I've got so much to get to. I can't believe that this show is just so packed. I have a story about this guy. So a funny thing is, I've been debating on on how to learning on how to use my Roomba. I have a very embarrassing story to tell you here coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. But after reading this story, I think I'm just going to get rid of my Roomba. I might even switch to a traditional vacuum with a bag, right? And like where you empty the bag out or something like that. Because this guy, he shares this story about how he was shut out of his Amazon smart home. Everything in his home was shut down because some sort of Amazon driver had thought that he heard a racial slur. I've got that story here next. Okay, folks, we'll be back. We're going to talk about that story. Also, I've got some indictment things. This is out of the Drudge this morning, where they're saying that they want to jury shop, essentially, Jack Smith, and they're going to move the case from Miami to New Jersey. That's jury shopping. Now, Andrew Weissman is behind it, and he has Trump derangement syndrome very, very bad. The reason why they're doing this is because they know this is a joke, and they saw all of these Cuban Americans come out in support of Donald Trump in Miami. So what they're trying to do is jury shop, and Jack Smith is considering moving this case, or well, there's people on the left who are pushing Jack Smith to move this case all the way up to New Jersey. I'm real big mad about this housing development in Bloomington, and I've talked about it a little bit here on the show. This housing development it's supposed to be on East Washington, and there were a lot of communists who came out and spoke against the housing development. And I just don't understand how these people can do this, because Do they not understand basic economics? These communists, so they got out there and they said, we don't want this housing project on East Washington and Bloomington. And I'm starting to look at the housing crisis. I'm starting to look at all of this, all of these reports, the housing prices here in Bloomington. And bottom line, we need more houses. Supply, demand, supply, demand, supply, demand. So there's small supply, high demand. What that does, it drives up the housing prices. This is basic economics. This isn't rocket science, right? That drives up the prices of homes, meaning you and I have to pay a whole crap ton in rent or mortgage, right? Your home. I don't think that there are that you can't get a house in Bloomington Normal for less than $100,000. It's very hard, um, right, to get a house less than $100,000 in Bloomington Normal. That's just not the case. And the average median price of homes, it's 227,000. So that's, just over 200,000. That's expensive for a house. And the reason why is because there's a small supply and a high demand. So once you increase the supply by adding more housing developments, then uh you will start to see people fill those houses, even if it is luxury housing, which it is not, right? It's not like super uber duper luxury housing. Maybe it's a little bit more high end or something like that. Some housing that's going up on East Washington. And she's saying, communists, they're like, it's going to be $2,800 a month. I have no idea what it's going to be a month. That was one of the housing developers' developments where they were charging people for $2,800 a month or something like that. The median price, I think right now, it's close to $1,200 for like a 2-bedroom apartment in Bloomington Normal. So it's not all that much higher than what the median price is. If you're charging $2,000 for rent, that's just, a little bit high scale. Point is, those will get filled. There's people who have gotten hired. There's a surge of hiring from Rivian. We know that some of those people make good money. And what will happen is those people will move into those homes. And then there's other homes that become available, the homes that they're in now. And then that brings housing prices down because you've increased the supply. This is basic economics. I don't understand why these communists don't understand it. So they were big mad that the council decided to table it because they're weak, feckless losers. Right? They decided to table the issue and not just vote on the housing project. I think back in May. Yeah, May. This was a council meeting, maybe early June, sometime like that. And they tabled it. And then they had a meeting and they eventually did approve the housing development, which is great news. It is kind of sad because I think there's a church there that has to come down. And it's a historic church. I don't think anybody's there right now. One of my friends had told me about the housing development. Um, how there's like history behind it in that area. This church, I'll have to read this for you. Hold on. Um, I don't know. I can't find it. But yeah, I think there's like some history there. Point is, it's all abandoned, and this is actually a good thing. The housing development, um, but these communists, they didn't want it, and the council tabled it because they're weak, and then they decided to eventually approve it. But now we're running into an issue of how much government unions are they going to use. Now, some government unions, that might actually be a good thing because they're going to be paying for these government unions with these TIF monies and things like that. But Amendment 1 tells us that government unions have unlimited collective bargaining power. They have all of the bargaining power in the world. So these unions could come back and say, actually, we want to be paid this amount. And Amendment 1 says that they can do that. Now, Amendment 1 is unconstitutional. It got on the ballot unconstitutionally. Therefore, I don't think that anything with Amendment 1 should stick um, until this litigation. I mean, there was a judge who didn't even want to rule on this because he says it's out of his wheelhouse. Okay. Um, but Amendment 1 might give them the bargaining power that they want. And then that would mean that this housing project is going to cost the developer a lot of money. And they might not go through with it. Who knows? We'll have to see. I can't believe it. Jerry Nadler, a Democrat, he's claiming literally today. So he claimed yesterday, June 14th, but I mean, in modern times right now, in 2023, he says that it's child abuse for anyone not masking their 2-year-old. Yes, not masking your 2-year-old, I guess, is child abuse in the eyes of Jerry Nadler. And folks, he gets absolutely shredded by Chip Roy. I've got that story here coming up in just a little while. Also, you are going to really like this story coming out of a Massachusetts middle school where these students rebelled against the Pride celebration being forced on them in school. And I love this. You can hear the chants of the kids, and they're like, "My pronouns are USA, USA," which is all very exciting. So I've got a couple of stories here coming up in just a bit. Before we took the break, I was telling you about my Roomba. So embarrassing story here on the Morning Buzz. And folks, I am live in the studio. You can check me out. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. So let's get into it. The Roomba story. Funny thing is, when I was reading this story, all I could think about was how I was really wanting to learn how to use my Roomba. It's very hard for me to understand, and I just have given up. Because there was one day where I was cleaning, I started the Roomba, and all of a sudden the Roomba just starts dragging my lamp around the house. So there's this cord, right, with the lamp, and it drags it. The Roomba goes over the cord, and it sucks the cord up into the Roomba, and then the lamp falls down, and it starts dragging the lamp all around the house. So here I am in my house trying to chase this Roomba down, and I flip the Roomba over, and I try to pull this cord out of the Roomba to try to free my lamp. It was a nightmare. It was embarrassing, and like I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't know how this happened. But yeah, I was busy with other things, and I was like, oh, I'll start the robot vacuum. And long story short, I don't think I'm going to be using a Roomba anymore. Traditional vacuums are definitely for me. So this brings me to the story of a guy who talks about his story regarding his Amazon smart home. So I don't know how much of you, how like you guys have a smart home. Uh, I have an Alexa, a Roomba. I really try not to keep it on. I try to keep it on its own network, so that way it's not hackable. So this guy, he's sharing his story. Apparently, there was an Amazon driver who dropped off a package, and through this Ring doorbell, I guess, the doorbell said something like, "Excuse me," or it kind of did a robot thing where it noticed somebody was dropping off some packages, and this Amazon driver thought that the Ring doorbell said something that was racist, a racial slur. Now, the man who has the smart home, he had all of his devices and all of his access to his Amazon products shut off, shut down. And it was pending, and there was an investigation. So what happened was this guy shared his story with a YouTuber, and the YouTuber has gotten out there and has talked about this story. So I'm going to play this clip from YouTube regarding the man who had all of his Amazon products taken away from him and shut down after what the Amazon driver thought was a racial slur. Here we go.
From Mr. Brandon Jackson. It says, on Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, I finally regained access to my Amazon account after an unexpected and unwarranted lockout that lasted about a week from Thursday, May 25th. This wasn't just a simple inconvenience. I have a smart home, and my primary method of interfacing with all the devices and automations is through Amazon Echo devices via Alexa. The incident left me with a house full of unresponsive devices, a silent Alexa, and a lot of questions. The sequence of events that led to this digital exile began innocuously enough. A package was delivered to my house on Wednesday, May 24th, and everything seemed fine. The following day, however, I found that my Echo Show had signed out, and I was unable to interact with my smart home devices. My initial assumption was that somebody might have attempted to access my account repeatedly, triggering a lockout. I use a fairly old email address for my Amazon account, and it's plausible that an old password might have been exposed in a past data breach. However, I currently use strong auto-generated passwords via Apple and employ two-factor authentication with an authenticator app, so unauthorized access seemed unlikely. I swiftly checked my other accounts, social media, streaming, etc., to ensure that I hadn't been compromised. All seemed normal with no flood of notifications from Microsoft Authenticator that would indicate an attempted breach. Puzzled, I found the advice of the Amazon app and dialed the customer service number it provided. That's when things began to take a surreal turn. The representative told me that I should have received an email, which I indeed found in my inbox. It was from an executive at Amazon. As I dialed the number provided in the email, I half wondered if Amazon was experiencing some issues and I was unwittingly falling for a scam. You don't expect trillion-dollar companies to email you and then have them say, "Call me back, bro," so I completely understand where he's coming from. When I connected with the executive, they asked if I knew why my account had been locked. When I answered I was unsure, their tone turned somewhat accusatory. I was told that the driver who had delivered my package reported receiving racist remarks from my Ring doorbell. It's actually a Eufy, but I'll let that slide. Here's where things got even more baffling. First, I have multiple cameras recording everything that happens on my property. By the way, I hope those cameras are going to a local NVR. If the driver's claims were accurate, I could easily verify them with video footage. Second, most delivery drivers in my area share the same race as me and my family. It seems highly unlikely that we would make such remarks. Finally, when I asked what time the alleged incident occurred, I realized it was practically impossible for anyone in my house to have made those comments, as nobody was home around that time, approximately 6:05 p.m.
What? So there you have it, folks. This story, a man shared about how his Amazon smart home was completely shut down because the Amazon driver thought he heard a racial slur coming from what is essentially a Ring doorbell. Uh, the man lost all access to his Amazon smart products pending this investigation. His account was finally unlocked this past Wednesday. Uh, and folks, we have seen other examples of this. I've brought you a story before about these smart thermostats shutting down actually this guy's air conditioning, and like his thermostat wasn't working because this guy committed the ultimate crime of lowering his air conditioning for climate change reasons. So there was in California a case where people were forced to keep their homes, I think, at like 77. So the guy committed the crime of moving his air conditioning notch a little below that, and then all of a sudden he wakes up one morning and his thermostat is completely shut down for climate change reasons. I've brought you this story before. I don't know if that happened out of California. I'll pull that up, but I know that happened. And then we also had Tesla sending out, quote, government messages to all these cars with the strong suggestion here to conserve electricity. Yes. So this example is probably the most extreme. And while it would have been crap, even if the guy did say a mean word to the driver, from within his home using the Ring doorbell, the fact that the man wasn't even home makes it all the much worse. So, yes, you can say, hey, it's wrong and it's awful, right? I'm not advocating for people to say mean things to people, but that is protected and they can't come after you for saying mean things to people. The government cannot do that. Large corporations should not be able to do that where they come after you. This is government corporations. Amazon is in the pocket of the government, in the pocket of the government. And just because you say something mean to somebody, but that didn't even happen. The guy wasn't even home. He didn't say anything mean. This was a complete misunderstanding. But this is the world of progressives. This is the world they want for you. It's why their vision is to have a cashless society. And they are for things like owning nothing and you liking it. And it's terrifying. The progressives want you to own nothing and for you to like it. They want to be able to shut you down on a whim. Today, it's someone claiming you said a bad word that you weren't home to say. Right? In this case, he wasn't even home to say a bad word. Tomorrow, it'll be a social media post. Maybe you put something out there that, I don't know, somebody doesn't like, or spreading what others claim is misinformation. And then they'll come in and they'll shut down everything you own. They'll shut down your vacuum. They'll shut down your Ring doorbell with the snap of their fingers. This man lost the use of items he owns. He paid for all of these items, these cameras, everything, all over a misunderstanding. You can just easily be locked out of your smart home for the same. Pay attention, America. Pay attention. This could happen to you. It could happen because you shared something, because you liked something on social media that isn't regime approved. Pay attention, America. The boycotts are working. That's one story I want to get here out. The Bud Light, Target, I'm telling you, they are in a pickle. It turns out the best way to get corporations to pull back on their pandering to radical progressives is to let them hear opposing voices that force them to choose. Go figure, right? When you actually speak out, there's actual action taken from these corporations to pull back on their pandering. After watching Bud Light and Target lose billions of dollars and effectively putting the broke in get woke, go broke, right? They're broke. Other companies have begun pulling back their woke initiatives, or at least talking about their woke initiatives out loud. Hey, this is a start. This is a start. They're talking about pulling back some of these woke initiatives. So the Daily Mail actually has this story, and they say that there was a 31% drop in mentions of woke issues during earnings in the most recent quarter. So these companies are sitting down at the table with the board, and they're saying, maybe we shouldn't mention woke things as much. Unfortunately, this is just mentioning it, right? They haven't actually pulled back on it because, of course, these companies are afraid that they'll lose out on the money they get from their ESG programs. So although the companies appear to be avoiding discussions on divisive issues as part of a larger strategy, there is evidence to suggest that they are not actually pulling back on, like, actually not implementing these woke policies because they're afraid of not getting their ESG scores. So these companies have been talking about conveying a different message, but they're to adjust to the backlash, the controversy, but they don't want to adjust it too much because they don't want they're afraid of losing billions of dollars in the name of these ESG scores. So yet pandering to the most radical of the radical left still improves their financial performance because of the ESG scores, and they're worried. But this is really cool. So I'm still calling this a win. The fact that we have gotten these corporations, these CEOs, to talk about their companies' woke initiatives, this is a win. That at least they're talking and they're trying to decide whether the ESG programs are more important, or you, the consumer, the customer, if you're more important. So we saw it right after the Bud Light fiasco with Coca-Cola, where the board rejected this ESG proposal to target and attack pro-life states. So there was a proposal out there across Coca-Cola's desk, and it's all about the ESG scores. And Coca-Cola is a company that just a few short years ago, they were shaming their employees for being white. We remember woke Coke. And this is when Bud Light's financial losses were only in the single-digit billions, right? And Coca-Cola decided not to go after pro-life states and target pro-life states. So before Target's double-digit billion-dollar loss, this is what Coca-Cola decided to do. And this was only in the single digits, the Bud Light financial losses. So they decided to not go after pro-life states. Go Coca-Cola. So to all of you on the right, if you're just a normie, American who doesn't really stay plugged into politics, apolitical. Keep it up. Let these corporate chains owned by these global corporations know that if you want to engage in radical politics, there's a financial penalty for you doing that. And also make sure that we're boycotting, not boycotting, but boycotting local companies and brands whenever possible. That's always good. Stay away from these woke corporations and keep boycotting because it's working. They're at least talking about not doing some of this stuff. As I gave you the example for Coca-Cola, they're not targeting pro-life states for this ESG proposal that they had across their desk. 309-451-9299. Andrew Weissman. He's panicking, folks, about the Trump indictment. They're pushing to move the Trump case from Miami to New Jersey. Why? Because they are jury shopping. They're jury shopping because they're freaking out, folks. They know that this case is totally bunk. I'll be back. This is the Morning Buzz. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. I so do appreciate it. If you guys are watching right now, can you do me a favor and smash that like button? Ezekiel, come on, man. The sky is falling again. Any day now. Boycotting is fun. Boycotting is fun. Did you not just hear my story there, Ezekiel? I talked about how Coca-Cola, the boycotting is working because Coca-Cola, they had a proposal in front of them that said, hey, what we want to do is go after pro-life states in this new proposal. So an advertising campaign. This is all about ESG scores, okay? This is an ESG proposal, came across their desk. They said, we should target and we should go after pro-life states. What did Coca-Cola do? They said, no, I don't think we're going to do that because of what happened with Bud Light and because of what happened with Target. And this was very much in the beginning of the boycotts, this ESG proposal that came across Target or Coca-Cola's desk here. So the boycotts are working in that these companies are afraid to go after or to make strong political statements, radical political statements against pro-life states, against people who are straight, right? So this is working. The boycotts are working. Same BS, different day. There are only two of us, not so making a dent in your engagement metrics. Yeah, we're starting our streaming. Ezekiel, this is the insults, right? I'm not doing this because of the views. Unlike a lot of people, what happens, and this is like a leftist thing. They'll say like views, likes, things like that, and they're obsessed with followers and engagement. I'm not. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, it's really about you, the listener, and if I'm serving an audience of 5 or if I'm serving an audience of 5,000, I'm going to be me and I'm going to be authentic and I won't be the media hack who tells you. And if you look behind me, Stacy, there's a storm. No, I'm going to be as real as possible with you and I'm not going to fake things and try to sensationalize like the mainstream. So I'm just going to bring you the facts. What happened to this man? The racial slur, right? He wasn't even home, right? And that can be proven. He said that he and his family weren't home at the time when this Amazon driver said that he said a racial slur. And I'm not trying to rip on the Amazon driver, okay? What I'm trying to do is say that, hey, maybe you misheard something. Maybe you were, and clearly he did because the guy wasn't even home to say a racial slur. But if you misheard something, that doesn't mean that this guy has his entire life taken from him, right? His smartphones, everything, right? His Alexas, he has a smart home, everything that he bought, he couldn't use because of misunderstanding. Uh, And look, folks, Not that I'm advocating for saying anything mean. You shouldn't say mean things to somebody, but even if this guy did say a racial slur to this man, that doesn't give the government or these large corporations the right to come into your home and shut things off. And this isn't the first case, okay? There was a case where this guy had his smart thermostat turned off because he wasn't complying with the law or with an ordinance of the city where they said, hey, make sure you don't keep your air conditioning under this amount of temperature because we're trying to do something for climate change or we're trying to conserve energy to prevent blackouts. This was going on, I think, in California or Colorado. I think it was Colorado. I can't remember. There was something going on where um, this guy, he wasn't allowed to bring down his thermostat. They said they recommended, or they had some sort of city ordinance that said, hey, we're at the risk of rolling blackouts. Make sure to not keep your air conditioning under this temperature. So the guy, his great crime was turning down his air conditioner that he pays for. The utility company pays for the product, right? The air conditioner itself in his home that he buys. And he committed the great sin of turning down the air conditioner, and then they shut off his AC. They shut it off, his smart thermostat. This has happened, okay? There have been other cases. There was another case here that I shared with you about where was it? Trying to look at where it was. Tesla, that's right. Tesla, they sent out these little government messages. I have a friend who has a Tesla, and he got one of these messages. Does some work in California. I don't know if it was like a geo fence where they sent them to only certain Teslas or what. But Tesla, they sent out a strong suggestion that you conserve electricity. And who's to say that Tesla doesn't shut down your car if you own one? Right? If they can send you a message suggesting that you don't drive, who's to say that they wouldn't go as far as to make sure you weren't driving? Look, these rhino Republicans, get out of my face. Get out of my face. Okay, Donald Trump. Now, I don't think he's going to be convicted at all, folks. It's a paperwork dispute. And you know why I think that he won't be convicted? Because they're already talking. Special Counsel Jack Smith, he thinks it's feasible to bring dissemination charges in a separate indictment against former President Donald Trump related to his handling of classified documents at his Bedminster, New Jersey golf resort. Legal experts argued in a Wednesday analysis from The Atlantic. So, this is from the Drudge Report. They're already talking about moving this indictment to New Jersey. Why? Because they know this case is bunk. They know it's stupid, and they know that they can't win a conviction. So, what are they going to do? They're going to move this indictment. They're going to jury shop. That's what this is, jury shopping. And they're going to move the indictment up to New Jersey. And this is at the behest of the radical left and Andrew Weissman. They are panicking. They are pushing to move the Trump case from Miami to New Jersey. The left is pushing for Jack Smith to move this case, and it's called jury shopping. They know the case is a joke. That's why they're pushing Jack Smith to move the case. They're running scared because they know the case is a joke. Donald Trump, he's facing, I don't think he's going to be convicted, folks, but based off of the 37 count indictment, could be facing 100 years in prison for a paperwork dispute. A paperwork dispute. Come on. And you've got House Republicans out here. I've got, I think it's 20 of them. I call them the cowards. Coward Republicans. And I've got their phone numbers. If you want them, you can call them and ask them why they decided to bend the knee and how they weren't even able to manage to censure Adam Schiff for lying. So censure, this is basically a slap on the. You're not indicting him. You're not charging him with anything. You're not removing him from office. This is just saying, hey, we don't approve of what you did. And these 20 Republicans weren't even willing to do that. They weren't even willing to publicly state it's a severe statement of saying, hey, we don't agree with what you've done. Adam Schiff lied. He deliberately leaked secret information to try to frame A sitting president that you and I elected, duly elected, Democratic election. He tried to nullify a Democratic election. Democrats, notice, they play for keeps. They play for keeps. Republicans don't even play. Every Republican should have voted to censure Adam Schiff, and they didn't. Wake up. 309-451-9299. Coming up in just a little bit. Scott Sticks with Scott Robbins. Happens around 7:35 every Monday through Friday morning. I do want to share this with you. The kids were shouting, USA, USA are our pronouns. So these Massachusetts middle schoolers. Massachusetts is deep blue state. I think in the last presidential election, it went 71% for the Democrat candidate, right? Joe Biden in the last presidential election. And these middle schoolers, these students are rebelling against Pride celebration being forced on them at their school. So what have they done? They've decided to dress in red, white, and blue. And they said, USA are our pronouns. You can do this. Kiddos, listen up. You can do this. You don't have to deal with this Pride celebration stuff if you don't want to. I'm going to be back. We're going to talk with Scott Robbins. This is the Morning Buzz. As always, I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm also on Rumble. So be there. Check out the check out our socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us. We're going to be back here with Scott Robbins next.
where the idea of a massive amount of people at a show, a music show, doesn't appeal to me near as much as it used to when I was like 25 or 21 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I like the idea. The concept is great. It's just the massive amounts of people. And good luck, by the way, this weekend, Kat. I know you're going to be out there a lot.
I am.
Is
Y'all
there
can
anyone?
come see me.
Is there? Well, I'm not going to come see you, but other people can come see you. I'll see you over dinner sometime.
Where it's
so
quiet and relaxed.
I know. You know, and I love going to shows. I still do, but the idea, it's the length.
Yeah.
You know,
yes. And
that's
the amount of people, and
oh my God,
come
and
on,
the length,
tailgate and
tall boy. I know. And back when I was boozing, this would have been perfect. Yes. Anyway, so who are you looking forward to seeing? By the way, I meant to ask you this.
Ooh, I really like Bailey Zimmerman. He's from Clay County, and he's from
Bailey
Illinois.
Zimmerman. Okay.
Yes, Bailey Zimmerman. He's from Illinois, and he's just kind of he's got a new album out there. It's called Religiously, and I am just in love with the song. I like it a lot. The song Religiously.
There's a guy out there that I really, really like, and I kind of just got turned on to him not that long ago, and that's that Jelly Roll dude.
Yeah, I really like him too.
I like that guy. I mean, I like that guy, and you know, I'm one of these guys too that I'd go see Nickelback. Yeah, I'd go see him. What's the buzz on Nickelback, by the way? What do you hear from people? Are they excited about Nickelback being there? Because they get the raw end of the deal, I think, all the time. These guys don't deserve the amount of hatred they get.
Who's going? It's not so much Nickelback that they're upset about. It's Young Gravy. So that is a rap artist, and people are peeved off from because I was asking people out there. I was like, so what do you think about Young Gravy being here? And they do not, that because a lot of these country fans, right? Now, given, you know, I was polling people who were coming to the radio tent, right? So these people
the
are
country
actually,
radio tent,
are actually listening to country music. I didn't, poll people who weren't, were out and about and stuff, but they were like, no, this is a country music festival, and I'm upset that there's a rap artist, because Young Gravy they don't even do what's called crap. It's the country rap, and it's a blend of the two.
Yeah.
He does not do that. He is a straight up rap artist.
Wow.
So he's like an opener. He might have been there yesterday or today, like opening. I don't know, but yeah. So people were upset about that. Not so much Nickelback, because Nickelback is like, come on, cool.
See, I'm old enough to remember when we brought Young Gravy's grandpa to town.
Oh,
that
really?
was a long time. Yeah, Lumpy. It was really good. Lumpy Gravy. Yeah, good stuff.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm kidding, Kat.
Oh, Lumpy Gravy. Oh, I
Come
did not
on,
know.
man.
I don't know. I didn't know. I don't live in that world. Here's Scott Robbins. Lumpy Gravy.
Lumpy Gravy.
Lumpy.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
Like these rap artist names get
Yeah,
crazier
right.
and crazier. Like Young Gravy. What does that mean?
Who knows?
What does
Who
that
cares?
mean?
Right. It is. It's great.
Oh,
It's
Scott,
good. There's
you
got to
got
be
me.
a search engine generator for that, right? Where you put your own name in and it spits out a rapper name. I'm sure there is.
Yeah. What would be your rapper name? If you could pick one, Scott, what would be your rapper name?
Oh boy.
Boy.
Old rapper. Old yapper.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, old yapper.
I
That'd be
like
my
that
name.
one.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'm just gonna stick with it. We should do that. You should get one of those. I think you can do it online. We'll do it someday. We'll generate our rap names.
Yeah, that'd be
So
cool.
I think I'm pretty sure we can do that. All right. I'm reading this article today, and I can't believe what I'm reading, but it's absolutely true, and I'm going to give it to you. Seattle, Washington. Police in Seattle are told misdemeanor property crimes cannot be pursued. Anything $750 and under, you let it go.
Wow.
Until further notice, any enforcement action for property damage must reach the threshold levels for felony malicious mischief. First, $5,000, but the second degree, if you can't arrest them for it, is $750. So this is a judge in Seattle, Washington. She did this yesterday. That's insanity. So if you want to graffiti up a wall somewhere and the damage is under $750, you're going to skate. They're not going to do anything to you. Nothing. It's legal. How nuts is that?
Don't you have property rights in this country? Oh,
No.
wait, no.
No.
You don't have the right to defend yourself. You don't have the right to your pride
you
to
don't.
protect your property.
No, you don't. Isn't that crazy? This is insanity. I read this and I like, is this true?
Well, and imagine what Chaz did to these business owners. I mean, Chaz was like this autonomous zone where you weren't
Yeah.
even allowed in. They had their own like armed security guards and like
Right.
shooting people who wanted to leave. Like,
Property damage is now legal.
wow.
That's insane. Well, I mean, you know, the theft thing, that's been going on for a while. It has to meet some sort of threshold too. I mean, I don't know where I'm at anyway. Okay. Again, I think I'm looking at something in the country way out away from everyone, maybe has electricity. I used to think to myself, I don't want to live anywhere where I can't get a pizza delivered. Right. That was my threshold. Now I'm thinking, I don't want to live anywhere within 100 miles of somebody. Holy smokes, leave me alone. All right. I want to get to Rachel Maddow. Did you hear this? I mean, Rachel Maddow's lost her mind on the Donald Trump thing the other night, which is so typical of all of these people. They freak out, lose their minds.
You know, I really like these people because we don't have Brian anymore, Brian Stelter. We don't have Don Lemon anymore.
No.
And I was wondering to myself, literally yesterday, I said out loud, I said, man, I kind of miss these guys. Who do we have left? Like,
Well,
that
we
are
got,
complete wackos.
Apparently, Maddow shows up once a week. I didn't even know this, but she shows up once a week and does some sort of commentary on MSNBC. And such was the case during the Donald Trump indictment. And of course, everybody went wall to wall and, you know, aerial views of the car and the very reminiscent of the old OJ chase. But anyway, she was on and she was, by golly, they're not going to show the Trump after party. You know, he went in and had the little thing going on. And because it's just nothing but lies, and we don't lie at MSNBC. I want to play a little clip for you. I'll set it up with her saying it and then some clips of Rachel lying her ass off. Anyway, here we go.
I need to say that former President Trump has just started making public remarks, just as I need to say that former President Trump has just started making public remarks, just as he did on the evening of his first arraignment on criminal charges. That was April, when he was booked on 34 felony counts brought by the state of New York. Now, tonight, after his arraignment on federal felony charges, he's speaking again, this time to an audience of his supporters that's gathered for a campaign fundraiser tonight at his golf club and summer home in New Jersey. We knew heading into this that he was planning to make these remarks. We are prepared for his pre-fundraiser remarks tonight to again be essentially a Trump campaign speech. Because of that, we do not intend to carry these remarks live. As we have said before in these circumstances, there is a cost to us as a news organization to knowingly broadcast untrue things. We are here to bring you the news. It hurts our ability to do that if we live broadcast what we fully expect in advance to be a litany of lies and false accusations, no matter who says them.
All right.
And I do not say that with any glee.
Now, there's clips floating around out there of her saying, where her driving home the point that if you get the COVID vaccine, it stops. This will stop. Get it now, or blood's on your hands. How many times did she lie about that? Over and over and over again. Not to mention Russian collusion. She couldn't wait to jump on the air and do 8 weeks worth of shows on that. The P tape, the whole 9 yards.
Russian collusion.
But she stands for, if it's not true, by golly, they're not airing it. Please.
But how do you know it's untrue if you don't like? She goes, we know it's untrue. In advance.
we know
it's untrue in advance.
Well,
okay,
but it's I if people want to take a side, if they want to pick a side, and if they want to rah for the left, and that's what they do on their channel, okay, that's fine. I don't have to watch it. Nobody does. So you can sit back and go, well, I don't care about that. I'm not going to watch it. It's not my thing. I don't believe in what the propaganda they're shoveling out. But to go on now and claim your journalistic integrity is hurt by airing the lies of Donald Trump is absolutely ridiculous. You have no self-awareness at all of the things you said in the past. Now, the great thing is that's all cataloged. I mean, it's out there, Rachel, and you know it's out there. All right.
If you don't get the COVID vaccine, did you see what, what's his name? Nadler, what Nadler said today? Jerry Nadler?
Yes.
I've got the clip. You want to listen to it?
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, let's hear it. I've heard this. Let's go.
This is insane. Here we go.
Yeah.
That we had 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do that because there was no vaccination available for 2-year-olds. And the only way to protect them, it
What?
protects against transmission of the disease.
That,
the next
by the way,
person.
when I first saw that, I'm like, is that from like years ago?
No.
No, that's from like the other day.
Yes, yesterday.
That's Jerry Nadler, who, by the way, his belt for his pants is up around his neck. It is. He's
What's
a
up with
miserable.
these, like, Dave
but here he
Taylor,
is
the
telling
senator
you-
here, they've got these glasses that are really circular, and I just
Yeah.
think it's bizarre. I don't know.
Well,
I've just noticed
at
that
least
a
he-
lot of the liberals, they tend to wear these types of things.
Yeah, Kaler's got the bow tie, too, which is never mind. But anyway, it's just kind of just clown show. But but Nadler is on. He's talking about this today. Mask your 2-year-olds because of COVID, and I did. I stepped back and went, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Now he got vilified for that on the floor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he got Chip Roy went at him and went at him hard and should have. So, because that kind of lunacy, there's no place for that. All right, I teased you on this when we talked earlier this morning, Kat, because there was a Jeopardy question that was thrown out there the other day, and it's one of those. If you play along on Jeopardy, I mean, occasionally you'll get into your own personal wheelhouse of a category, and you'll buzz through it, and sometimes nobody gets it, and you're like, well, see, I got it. Not that I belong on Jeopardy. It's just that it happened to be a category that's in my wheelhouse, and I knew a little bit about it, right? So anyway, yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess now, on Jeopardy, fans are angered. 3 contestants failed to answer what many believe to be a very easy question about the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, okay.
And I told Kat, I said, you're going to get this. I can almost guarantee it. And you're like, well, what is it? I said, I'm not going to tell you. We're going to do this on the air live first, right? So the pressure's on, but I don't think you'll have any problem with this. Host, that Mayim Bialik, read the clue that began with, here's the clue. And again, no one got this. Matthew 6:9 says, our Father, which art in heaven, blank be thy name. Kat, to you.
Hallowed be thy name.
Of course it's hallowed, right?
Yeah, hallowed
3
be thy
Jeopardy
name.
contestants there. No one knew the answer.
Wow. Oh,
No
that's
one.
so sad.
The camera cut to Laura and Joe, returning champion Sierra. Not one person buzzed in on the response.
Oh.
So fans began tweeting their disdain for this blunder. One writing, today, 3 Jeopardy contestants did not know the first line of the Lord's Prayer. Very sad.
That's so sad.
I
It
don't-
is.
and
It is
again,
so sad. I recite. I know this sounds crazy, but what I do all day, if I don't know what to pray for, I'll just start reciting the Lord's Prayer. That's just an easy way to pray. And if I don't know what to pray for, I just start reciting it in my head, and I just mumble it under my breath a lot of the times, and it just gets me through the day, right? And I just can't believe that. Hallowed be thy name. That's so easy.
Now, my dad was a great guy of faith, but he always hated the line, lead us into temptation. He's like, he doesn't lead us into temptation.
Yeah.
And then there was the trespasses was replaced by sins, in a lot of places too. The word trespass was taken out and replaced with sins. But, to me, that's just one of those things where I look at it and think these 3 brainiacs that are on Jeopardy that will talk about splitting the atom but can't tell you what that word is. Holy smokes, man. Maybe that's indicative of everything else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
well,
it
it
is.
used to be like, I think it's like 63%. It used to be like well over 70% of people identified as Christian. They said that they were Christian here in the United States. Now it's like down like 60% or something like that. It's sad. So sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've replaced their religions with other religions
of the LGBT gods.
Or, particularly the
our
trans.
God. Or
Is
Fauci,
awesome.
Lord Fauci.
Well, yeah, Lord Fauci. Yeah. Hallowed be thy Fauci. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Whitmer with the
There
pillow.
you go. Golly. Christian Whitmer. We have to do that for this year, though. We have to do brackets for like worst governors.
Yes.
and then have the elimination rounds. Because, man, there are a lot of terrible governors.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have one of them. All right. Hey, by the way, is anybody taking us up on the offer of reading the banned books out loud at a school with kindergartners or first graders? Anybody done that?
Not yet. I'm waiting.
Any of the knuckleheads out there that are screaming about banning books? I want to get at least 2 or 3 of the books that have been banned by that evil Ron DeSantis, and just have you sit there, Mr. Congress critter, or town council or whatever, and read them to the kids. If they're perfectly fine and there's nothing to see here, I want you to read them. Take me up on that offer. You won't, but I wish you would, because if you don't, I think you're a coward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just call Kat if you want to, because we want to be there for it when you read
well,
Lawn
you know
Boy
what they'll say. They'll sit there and
kids.
they'll say, well, the drag queens just do a much better job of it.
Yes. Yeah, with the hand puppets. All right. Okay. Talk to you later, Kat.
See you later, Scott Robbins. Scott Robbins is on later tonight, folks. It's Cities 92.9 at 8 o'clock. Oh, boy. Coming up, we've got a packed show for you. I do want to talk about Jerry Nadler a little bit because he claimed the other day that it's child abuse for not masking up your 2-year-old. Yes, he said this in 2023. This wasn't a clip from 2020. The guy gets out there and he says, it's child abuse if you don't mask up your kid. What? So he gets completely shredded by Chip Roy. I've got Chip Roy's comments. Also, our pronouns are USA, USA, USA. These middle schoolers out of Massachusetts, they're actually rebelling against this pride celebration being forced on them. And I've got a message for the kiddos. You can do this. You don't have to stand for your teachers, for your administrators, and you don't have to stand for it. You have the right to say, my pronouns are USA. You can't force this garbage on me. Later, conservative, he shares some powerful words on how dads can protect their kids from predators. And here's the 3 powerful words: be a threat. Governor J.B. Pritzker signing what I call the groomer bill. What it does, it allows pornography on the shelves for kids to have made available to them in public libraries and school libraries. So essentially, these schools will not get funding if they decide, hey, we don't want the pornography on our shelves, and they get rid of the books. Or so this is what Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law here in the state of Illinois, and there's a way you can protect your kids. And I've got these keys to help you, dads, because it ultimately falls on you. 309-451-9299. You can text in. I've got a clip here from Vivek Ramaswamy. If I was voting today, I'd be voting for Donald Trump for president. Now, if Donald Trump magically were to get out of the race, which I'm sure he won't, folks, if he were to get out of the race, Vivek Ramaswamy would be my next choice, and this is why.
To Nikki Haley, to Larry Elder, to RFK Jr., to Marianne Williamson, to Doug Burgum, to Perry Johnson, to Chris Christie, to Ron DeSantis, the governor of the state where we are today, who by any measure is not here today in his own state. I will tell you that we have sent this letter, and I'm happy to announce this is my commitment on January 20th, 2025, if I'm elected the next U.S. president, to pardon Donald J. Trump for these offenses in this federal case. And I have challenged, I have demanded that every other candidate in this race either sign this commitment to pardon on January 20th, 2025, or else to explain why they are not. And I will tell you something. It's going to be difficult for those other candidates to sign this letter.
Yes.
The reason it's going to be difficult for them is the same reason it's difficult for me. The donor class
worth anything
has been calling every Republican candidate and telling us to stay away from this, not to touch it from a 10-foot pole.
Thoughts on Ron DeSantis? I mean, in his home state, not a tweet, not a statement, not anything following this indictment. Like about 7 days ago, a week ago, he put out a statement and said, oh, this is horrible. If I was president, we'll hold the DOJ accountable. No, you need to come out and you need to say that you would pardon Donald Trump if you were elected president. You also need to, I mean, yes, I would love to see Vivek bow out, but at this point, I don't know what's going to happen to Donald Trump. I said it yesterday. Are they planning to kill him? Like, honestly, they go after him so much, you have to start to ask yourself the question, how far are these people willing to go to bring down Donald Trump? If you guys haven't watched Tucker Carlson from a few nights ago, I highly recommend you do that. I'll play it here maybe in the 8 o'clock hour. But essentially, how far are they willing to go to bring down Donald Trump? And if they bring down Donald Trump, which I don't think is going to happen, I'm remaining optimistic. If they bring down Donald Trump, who's next? It better be Vivek, because I'm telling you right now, he's the only one who has come out very, very strongly and has said that he's going to pardon Donald Trump for this persecution, for this prosecution happening in Miami and could potentially happen in New Jersey, because right now we've got Jack Smith jury shopping. But Vivek is the only other one. And I would hate to see him drop out because we don't know. It's very volatile, I guess, when it comes to Donald Trump. I think that he is not going to be convicted. But, I mean, I keep saying there's no way that they could keep going after him for this stuff. And then they keep going after him for this stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Vivek, the only other candidate willing to say, I'm going to pardon Donald Trump. The only candidate, and look, I keep a running tally in my head. I think of these Republicans. I keep a running tally. Here locally, we've got some Republicans. I know that Dan Brady, he's talking about possibly running for Congress, possibly running for state house. Not to say I don't like Dan Brady as a person. He's very nice. Shakes hands, kisses babies, right? Goes out to these campaign things. But I keep a running tally. I look at the voting record. And you voted to raise gas taxes. You also voted with the Democrats on several things, Dan. And they didn't need it. That's the thing. The Democrats don't need your vote as a Republican in the state of Illinois. They have what's called super majority. They don't need your help in passing these votes. So the only reason why you're voting on that or sponsoring legislation in some cases with these Democrats is because you want your backaged. You want a favor for your district, and you're willing to sink to new moral lows, and you're willing to compromise your morality and vote on things or co-sponsor things like Dennis Tipsworth did, where non-citizens are going to have badges and guns and have arresting powers over United States citizens. That is the state we live in. I see it all the time. This is so very clear. Republicans bending the knee and voting with, co-sponsoring legislation just to play cutesy time with the Democrats because they think magically one day these Democrats are going to pop their head off the pillow and they're going to be friends. They're going to be friends with the Democrats. That will never happen. The Democrats play for keeps and Republicans don't even play. So with the Donald Trump thing, Vivek Ramaswamy, I would love to see a Trump Vivek ticket. That would be amazing. It would be incredible after this primary is over. Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy. Very exciting. I love Vivek. Ron DeSantis, what's wrong with you, man? And I've run through it multiple times here on this program. There's problems in Florida. I have some friends who live down there, fled the state of Illinois to go live down there. Florida Light and Power, he took $9 million from. And all of a sudden, they started to see increases in their electricity bill, 22% increase from when Ron DeSantis didn't take over and take that money from Florida Power and Light. He also took, I think, near $4 million from the insurance industry. And then he signed legislation that makes it impossible to sue insurance companies. So people had their homes blown away in Hurricane Ian. And he signed legislation and signed it into law that would make it impossible to go after these insurance companies who pay you pennies to try to replace your roof. And these insurance companies are gouging people, right? And there's, legitimate cases where people could try to sue these companies for trying to rip them off. And Ron DeSantis made it to where we're going to give the insurance companies a bone here, and we're going to make it impossible for them to be sued. That's some major issues in Florida. I love this. Untrue in advance. Rachel Maddow mocking Maddow this morning with Scott Robbins was so fun. She literally said, and we're not going to air Donald Trump's remarks post indictment, post arraignment, because we think that he's going to say untrue things. We know in advance that he's going to say untrue things. Come on. It's so obvious what's happening here. Brian, I appreciate you coming to the defense. I have no idea what this fellow was trying to say. I'm full stop. Don't know what he's trying to say here with this comment. If somebody can help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. It's the Morning Buzz, Thursday morning, 8:05 a.m. here. I've got so much to get to in such little time. We've got to run through this, and we have a very packed show. One thing I want to say that's disgraceful. The New York City grand jury has indicted Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny is the guy who was protecting these innocent. They were innocent bystanders, folks, on this New York City subway, and he was protecting them from a madman who said that he didn't care if he was going to go to prison, he was going to kill people. He was a madman in New York. And look, I can't believe Daniel Penny is going to be facing 15 years. And this is a warning. If you try to stand up to a criminal in a blue city, Bloomington, Normal are blue cities, your leaders will find every excuse they can to side with the criminal. It's just the facts. It's just the facts. So get some self-defense insurance. I have some self-defense insurance. It's very affordable. And this is disgraceful. This is absolutely disgraceful what this New York City grand jury has done to Daniel Penny. Jordan Neely had over 40 arrest warrants out there, plus an outstanding warrant at the time of his death for felony assault. And in the state of New York, it's defined that felony assault is where you purposefully try to harm somebody using brutality. Like, this is brutal beatings. He was obviously deranged, and he went berserk on this New York subway. I just can't. So sad. First, I do want to get into Jerry Nadler. Some claims he made literally yesterday, not in 2020, not in 2021, not in 2022. He made them in 2023. He says it's child abuse for not masking up your 2-year-old. Yes, in 2023, post-COVID. We're 800 days out from COVID-19, the beginning of the pandemic. But don't worry, he gets absolutely barbecued by Chip Roy. Next, your pronouns are USA. Our pronouns are USA. This is what middle schoolers said in Massachusetts. This is a very Democrat state. These Massachusetts middle schoolers, they rebelled against this pride celebration. And to the Bloomington Normal children, to the children in Central Illinois, you can do this. Take note. We are in a blue state. You're in a blue city. You can do the same thing that these middle school students were doing. Pride celebration. If it's being forced on you and you don't like it, dress up in red, white, and blue and go and chant and express your First Amendment right. Hey, our pronouns are USA. Stop forcing this down my throat. Later, a conservative guy, dad, he's sharing 3 powerful words on how dads can best protect their kids against predators. We are moving past now trying to fight the state. They've already have decided that pornography on the shelves of public libraries and school libraries is not only welcomed, but celebrated. Governor J.B. Pritzker signing into law a groomer bill where these school libraries and public libraries can keep the porn on the shelves. And, I challenge Scott Robbins. He says, I challenge any Democrat leader who is for these books to go out there and read them to children. Host a reading. If you are all for this, host a reading. We're past this legislation. It's already law. I'm at a point where we have to start playing defense. And there is a way to protect your kids from predators because, believe it or not, teachers are going to be having inappropriate sexual conversations with your children, and they're going to be giving them inappropriate sexual content. So there's 3 powerful words. Be a threat. I've got a viral clip here to play for you. Now, yesterday, I don't know, I had to double check and make sure that this was real. This was a video from yesterday. On June 14th, 2023, this is about day 780-ish of flattening the curve at around 12:45 Central Time. Democrat Congressman Jerry Nadler got out there, and he was talking about how it's child abuse for not masking up your children. So let's take a listen to our boy, Jerry Nadler, in 2023. This isn't 2020. Here we go.
And the healthcare worker certainly ought to be required to be vaccinated. And when we have a pandemic like COVID-19 pandemic that we had, 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do that because there was no vaccination available for 2-year-olds. And the only way to protect them, it protects against transmission of the disease.
There you have it, folks.
The next person.
Jerry
Nadler,
out there saying, oh, yeah, it's child abuse if you don't mask your kids in 2023. here we go. This wasn't during the golden days of the pandemic when people were screaming at you're killing grandma for not wearing a mask. That's not when Jerry said this. This wasn't December 2021, where by that point, most people knew that masks didn't work and they stopped wearing them. Now, there were some stragglers, some weirdos that wore the masks in their car when they were alone, or sometimes they're riding down Constitution Trail on their bicycles and they're wearing a mask. I'm like, I still see that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is wild. Uh, but this ranking member of the Democrat Party, close to 800 days after the pandemic began, has accused parents now of child abuse for not masking up their kids. I'm going to say it right now. It's child abuse to mask up any child. You should not be masking up children. That's child abuse. Covering their face with, as Dan Bongino puts it, a face diaper is wrong. And Chip Roy barbecued, but just completely obliterated him, Jerry Nagler, here on the House floor. Here we go.
Here saying that I'm trying to do to protect the American people from the tyrannical state of the executive branch. But in this case, my Democratic colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I want everybody in America to understand what they just heard from the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee in the United States House of Representatives. Your 2-year-old should be forced to be masked. That is what the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee just said here on the floor of the House of Representatives, that the power of the government, the full power of the federal government, should be a part of ensuring and forcing your children, your 2-year-old child, to be masked. We heard it yesterday when the Secretary of HHS refused to actually answer that question. So I'm really glad to hear that the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee acknowledges what everybody in America understands, which is that the Democratic Party, led by the president and by my Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate, are fully comfortable with the power of the government being used to shut down your businesses, force you out of work, unless you take an experimental vaccine that has not been proven to actually do what the gentleman just said, which is with respect to transmissions. More importantly.
So there's Chip Roy completely just ripping Nadler a new one. Yeah, and you know that little conspiracy theory where it's been said that the Wuhan China lab leak was because of a biological weapons experiment. And this is true. So we have now the U.S. State Department conducting interviews. They have gathered evidence to strongly suggest that China, the Wuhan lab, they were working in 2019 on, and prior to that, they were working on it in 2016, 2014. They were working on coronavirus biological weapons for the purpose of biological warfare. And what happened was they were working on these bioweapons, and there were researchers who were taken to the hospital with COVID-like symptoms back in November of 2019. And they started dying. The researchers themselves who were doing the work in this Wuhan lab, they started dying because they were participating in research surrounding biowarfare. So here it is. This is the Sunday Times mainstream news, claims that there's been evidence that China was developing dangerous coronaviruses in collaboration with the Chinese military for alleged purposes of biowarfare. This research program was likely the source of the pandemic, the report asserts. So this is no longer conspiracy theory. The World Health Organization carried out inspections in 2021, and there's been investigators that have found that this was not a natural source, and the fact that COVID-19 leaked from a lab in Wuhan is very likely. Yeah, so the WHO, there's people out there who are saying that this is a U.S. investigator is quoted in the article asserting that Chinese scientists were working on a vaccine. So they were not only working on the bioweapon coronavirus, but they were also working on vaccines for that bioweapon. Yeah. Remember when they said that this was all conspiracy theory? It's not anymore. I need more conspiracy theories. I'm running out of them, folks. You can see me live in the studio, 309-451-9299. If you want to be a part of the show, text me. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Twitter. Check it out. Now, I do want to shift gears, talk a little bit about Massachusetts. Last week, students at a Massachusetts middle school revolted against the Pride celebrations, which is exciting to see kids actually advocate for themselves. 71%, for context, people in Massachusetts voted Democrat in the last presidential election. So a bunch of these middle schoolers, they protested these Pride celebrations at their school, and they wore red, white, and blue clothes instead of the rainbow clothes. And the school board members, get this, they are calling children, middle schoolers, they're calling children bigots. They're calling them misogynists. Just take a listen here. Here we go.
Were asked to wear rainbow clothes in honor of Pride Spirit Day, but some organized a counter protest wearing red, white, and blue or black. The principal sharing a statement to families that Pride posters were ripped down, stickers ripped up. Some students chanted, "USA are my pronouns," and students showing Pride were intimidated.
It was an unruly disruption, in fact, that was organized ahead of time.
While some parents were upset, others say it was overblown.
Some of the kids threw the stickers on the ground, but I can only speak for my daughter. She didn't want to wear that to school. It's not that she wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
She says her daughter felt coerced to participate in the Pride event and was offended by some of the messages, like this quote from Tennessee Williams.
Human heart cannot be straight. It is curves and winds. And my daughter just kind of said, Mom, that's offensive to me, who I am straight.
But even parents like her, opposed to the Pride Month celebration, say the ripping of posters was wrong.
I think destructing any property is wrong. I think, I just think that was wrong.
Parents and community groups now calling for the town and school board to act and support diversity, equity, and inclusion. The incident sparking discussion at home on both sides.
My thing that I teach my kids is just be kind. And I wish the schools would just kind of pump the brakes on what they're shoving down these kids' throats.
The issue of pride.
There you have it, folks. This is coming from people in the school board. They're pushing back and they're demanding more diversity, training to parents. Some parents are actually defending their children, as we heard in that clip. The mother, she said, "Look, my kid saw a sticker and it said, quote, no one is straight." And that was offensive to this little girl who's straight, right? Also, at this school, there was a student who was told that he couldn't wear his shirt that says there are two genders. His peers didn't mind, but you know who did? The teachers and administrators. Don't bend the knee. That's what the goal. Do not bend the knee. There's a Gallup poll out there, folks, and you are not in the minority. Advertising works. The more they shove it down your throat, the more likely you're going to think that this is the way of America, that the pride stuff is the mainstream and that everybody's doing it. No, the advertising works. Okay. The more you tell somebody something, the more likely they are to believe it, or the more likely they are to engage in that product. That's just the way advertising works. And a large majority of Americans, if you ask them, 69% of them actually say that transgender athletes should not be allowed to play in sports teams that do not conform with their birth gender. So a lot of people, a majority of Americans, believe that. I have a viral video. It's going viral this week. I'm very excited to bring it to you. It's advice for dads in America, protecting your kids and how you should protect your kids. Not in America, but in Illinois. We've got Governor J.B. Pritzker just recently signing this into law. I call it the groomer bill. He calls it the book banning bill. Basically what it is, it allows pornography to be on public libraries, school library, the shelves, available to your children. Be prepared for strangers to be sitting down having an inappropriate sexual conversation with your children, and for strangers, adults, to be giving inappropriate sexual content to your children this year. So I've got a bit of advice for the dads out there. It's Father's Day on Sunday, so here's a bit of advice next. Okay, folks. Hey. Thanks so much for joining me here. Here's Will. You may not like the books that aren't being banned right now because of the sexually explicit nature of them, but when they try to ban classic books because of their hurtful language, that won't be allowed either. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I highly doubt that. We have two tiers of justice in this country and definitely in the state of Illinois. I would not be shocked, say, the Bible, right? There, what book banning? Does it apply to the Bible? Does it apply to Huckleberry Finn? Does it apply to, I don't know, Catcher in the Rye? A few of these other books that have been banned in the past for hurtful language. Does it apply to those books? Because really what I think this book is, or this book banning legislation is all about, is the sexually explicit books. Just to be honest. Have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I am going to be back. We're going to be giving you guys some advice, dads, some advice. I also want to share this terrifying story about how this guy, he had all of his smart devices shut off because somebody accused him of saying a racial slur through a Ring doorbell. Turns out he wasn't even home to say that racial slur. I think it was a complete misunderstanding. This Amazon driver, he complained that there was some sort of racial slur said. To this day, he's saying that he heard it. And guy wasn't even home to say that. The Ring doorbell, it's supposed to say, excuse me, where, or hello, or something like that, when there's an Amazon driver who drops off a package in the front of the door. And he thought that the Ring doorbell had said something else. And that can't be true because the guy wasn't even home to do that. And they shut off all of his smart products. And this is a warning. If you have smart products in your home, get rid of them. Maybe get on your own network. There's ways to be safe. I'm not very good at it. I try to limit my interactions with smart devices as much as possible. There's been other cases. This is a trend I'm starting to see. There's been other cases regarding this. Smart thermostat was turned off when a man turned down his AC when they were told, hey, in order to prevent blackouts in this state, I think it was Colorado, a man had his smart thermostat shut off because he turned down his AC. And because of climate change and the green weenies, right? They were like, well, you can't turn it down much more. It was like some sort of city ordinance. You can't turn it down below 77 or something like that. And he did. He committed that crime of turning down his AC, and they shut off his thermostat because he was not in compliance with some sort of city ordinance. So get off of this stuff. There was also this case with the Teslas. I had a friend who had got this message. It was a government message. A lot of people got them with the Teslas, and it said, hey, we're making a strong suggestion that you conserve energy and you don't use your car, your Tesla. And I would not be shocked to see Teslas just automatically shut down in the name of green weenie. They want to control your products. They want to be able to say, You will own nothing and you will be happy. They own it. Like, this guy bought everything in his house. It was a smart home. He bought everything. He paid for it. And the large corporation, the government corporation, shut everything off in his house. Get away from these evil corporations. Somebody said I took him out of context. Okay. No, I did not. Nadler. I have the direct quote here. Let me just directly quote the guy. Jerry Nadler saying that it's child abuse if you don't mask up your kid. 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do this. The only way to protect them against COVID was to have them wear masks. These mandates are meant to protect the public's health and safety. This is exactly what Jerry Nadler said. He's saying that it was child abuse if you didn't mask up your child. I've got a listener texting in saying that that was taken out of context. What? I played for you the clip. Did you not hear him? Are you saying that, like, that's what he said? Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. It's a Thursday morning, 8:27. If you are listening right now and you want to see me live in the studio, you want to see the clips that I'm playing, the show prep, you can see it all on Cities 929 on Facebook, and also look us up on YouTube. Type in Conservative Cat, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, guys. We don't ask for donations. We don't take taxpayer money. We don't do any of that. We bring you content because we care. We actually care about you. And all that we ask is that you go visit our advertisers. Everybody here on the radio here, they support the station through ad dollars. And that's how we stay on the air and continue to give you content. So please go visit our advertisers, shop locally. And I'm about ready to give you this story here coming up in just a couple of minutes about big corporations and how they want you to own nothing and to be happy about it. So this is a scary story. This guy shares this terrifying warning. What happened to his entire Amazon smart home. So he has a smart home. So he has a lot of devices. His life runs on these smart devices. And there was an Amazon delivery driver who dropped off a package. And I guess this Ring doorbell, he thought said some sort of racial slur, which wouldn't be possible because it's all on video. The guy wasn't even home at the time. And because this guy, this Amazon driver, misheard something, he ruined he was able to shut down all of this guy's products. Everything that he owned was rendered useless. So this is the problem with globalism. This is the problem with this corporation, global corporations, being in the pocket of big government. We're going to get to that story here in just a little bit, but I have a viral video that's going around, and I think that this is important to share, being that Father's Day is just around the corner this Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all of you awesome dads out there. This is some advice, being that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law this really disgusting groomer bill where he is going to withhold funding from public libraries, or he's going to withhold that funding from public libraries and school libraries if they decide to take books off of their shelves, specifically, I think, books that have sexual content, explicit sexual content, harmful material. This is against the law. You cannot share with minors in a school setting pornographic material. You can't do it. It's called harmful material. There's an act, it's laid out in Illinois law. You cannot share harmful material. That is considered a crime to share harmful material with a minor, pornographic material with a minor. It's laid out in the law, but we're past this. It's already law. So now it's our chance to play defense here. So every parent, you need to hear this. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
And he said, more important than the characteristics of the child, he looked at the characteristics of the family. The first thing he mentioned was that if he perceived the father to be a threat, he stayed away, which tells us a few things, dads. One, you better be a threat. But two, you better be present enough in your child's life to where they know you're a threat. And I would say it tells us one more thing that's very interesting. There's a lot of people right now that seem hell-bent to have sexual conversations with our children without our knowledge. Those are the same people telling us that the very things that make you a threat are manifestations of toxic masculinity. So maybe we shouldn't listen to those people.
There you have it, dads. There's some advice for you. Threat, be present in your kid's life so that way predators know you're a threat. Those are the keys to victory with your child. It's good advice, and I hate to say that I would hope that dads don't need to hear it because they already know, and they already know that hey, I have to be a threat, and I have to be present in my child's life enough to know or to have predators know that I'm a threat. Every adult your kid comes into contact with across should know that you, parent, will inflict above average amount of harm to them if they ever try to hurt your child. And this is the best way that keeps predators away. Be present in your child's life. Um, and look, message for the moms out there. You should be doing everything in your power to protect or to create an environment that makes it where he can be a threat, where dads can be a threat. Whatever that is to support that, hey, how are we going to make it to where you are known as the threat? Um, and I hate to have this conversation. I really just wish I didn't have to have this conversation, but I was thinking about it and I saw this viral clip and I said, dads need to hear this. Illinois dads specifically need to hear this. Do want to shift gears, talk about a guy. Something very terrifying happened to him. Now, I've been kind of debating how to learn to use my Roomba. A lot of people love their Roombas. I get it. I hate mine because there was one time where I was in the house, I was cleaning, I was off doing something else, and I, set the Roomba and I said, "Go vacuum," and it ran over a cord and it drug my lamp all around the house, and I had to tackle the Roomba, flip the Roomba over, pull the cord out of the Roomba, and, destroyed my lamp, destroyed the cord, and I don't know, I'm just not a fan of it. So after all of that and after listening to this or hearing about this story, I said, I'm gonna switch to more traditional vacuum. Now this guy, he shares this story about his smart home. Um, was all shut down. Everything that he uses in his house, it was all shut down because this Amazon driver thought he heard a racial slur when he dropped off a package. This guy lost all of his access to his Amazon smart products pending an investigation. So his account was finally unlocked on Wednesday. He had all kinds of messages between he and this Amazon executive about why his account was down. He finally got his account unlocked on Wednesday. But this is a terrifying story, folks, because we've seen other examples of this. This is not an isolated incident. There's been a story, I think it was in Colorado, where a smart thermostat was shut off. His entire thermostat was shut off because he was lowering his air conditioning, and apparently that was not in compliance with some sort of city ordinance where they said, "Hey, for climate change reasons, for to prevent blackouts or whatever, we are going to force you to not bring down your we want you to keep your house at 77. If you bring down your AC, no, you can't do that." This happened where his thermostat just gets shut off because he committed the almighty crime of turning his AC down to 75. Tesla, they also sent these government messages. These were government messages. Can't can't even begin to it's wild. To all the cars, people who had Teslas, and it said, "Hey, this is a strong suggestion to conserve electricity." What? But this is the world of progressives for you. This is the world they want for you. They have this vision of a cashless society and you owning nothing and you liking it, and that's terrifying. They want to be able to shut you down on a whim. Today, it's somebody claiming that you said a bad word. Now, the whole story there, it was like a Ring doorbell, and I think the Ring doorbell had said something to the effect of, "Excuse me, sir," or something like that when he came up to the doorstep and dropped off the package. He misheard, because there was no way that it said a racial slur, because this guy wasn't even home. His whole family wasn't home. Um, today it's that guy mishearing something and him accusing you of something and then having all of your stuff shut down. Tomorrow, it could be that you share something on social media that somebody doesn't like and they shut down your smart products or they shut down your smartphone, right? And the next day, I mean, it could be you spreading what somebody says is misinformation. With the snap of the with the snap of their fingers, this guy lost all of the use of his items that he owns, all over a misunderstanding. Pay attention. Pay attention. 309-451-9299. I've gotta take a break. I'm gonna continue the show here on the Morning Buzz, next. We're going to be back here with a very special caller in about 20 seconds. It has to deal with some refugees here locally. So this is going to be really exciting to have David Paul Blumenschein on with me. He stopped a Romanian couple and family, really. They had a big old umbrella here on Landmark Drive, which is right where the station is at. And he stopped and talked to them and got a little bit about their story. The border crisis, it's upon us here in Bloomington, Normal, and with the inside scoop, David Paul Blumenschein from the DPB show Sundays from 1 to 3. He's joining me on the line. DPB, thanks so much for joining me.
Dad, good morning. Can I, am I coming through okay?
You
Can
sure
you hear me
are,
all right?
David Paul Blumenschein.
Oh, well, it's good to know that technology works and my earpiece is working. So if it gets fuzzy, let me know. But yeah, that was what a day, you know. We have tailgate and cowboys upon us. Part of our programming at the station is the bowl, and this weekend, I should say, it started last night, going through Saturday, is tailgate and cowboys out at the Interstate Center. And I was heading back to the station, and there were two families camped out with very similar signs, mind you, that said that we're refugee families and we need, you know, anything and everything. And so I drove around a couple times and I said, you know what, I've got to find out what gives, right? What is their story? And so I stopped at the McDonald's on the corner of Landmark and College, and I got out of the vehicle, approached them. Of course, they were apprehensive a little bit, but quickly realized that the father spoke almost perfect English. Now, he had a Romanian accent. He's of Indian descent. I mentioned to him, I said, well, you don't look Romanian. And he said, yeah, you know, 700, 1,000 years ago, my family migrated to Romania. And you know, quickly I wanted to know, okay, then how did you get on the corner of Landmark and College in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois? And the story goes, according to him, his name, he goes by John. There is another name, but he said it means John. And so he had his wife there and two little people with him. One is under a year old. The other one probably was about 4 or 5 years of age. They started off in Romania. He said that he was a mechanic there, that the living wage or the wages that they were able to earn in Romania was about $300 to $400 a week. That wasn't enough money, you know, with the cost of living, and I don't know what the cost of living is in Romania, but they gathered enough money, supposedly, to fly into Mexico City. From Mexico City, they went into Texas. From Texas, they managed to get transportation. Now, he said a van. I don't know if that's a van that is, you know, provided by the state of Texas or a different social agency down there. I don't know if they own the van. I don't know if there's a driver to the van, which is what I'd like to find out. But they ended up migrating all the way to Bloomington Normal. It was their first day yesterday in Bloomington Normal. They were on the corner. What really struck me, Kat, was they had a patio umbrella with a base just on the sidewalk, corner of College. I mean, just like they were just setting up shop and lawn chairs and with their children and their sign, of course, asking for money. So there's a lot to the story just to realize that they did access through Mexico City to the United States. And I had to follow up question, many follow up questions, and I could have been there all night. You know, was why Mexico City? Why did you fly in? And because they had heard that the border was open. What do you think of that?
Wow. So the reason why they came to Mexico City was because they heard the border was open.
They heard that you could gain access to America without green cards. He even mentioned that right now he doesn't have a green card, So therefore, getting employment would be tough because somebody would have to pay him cash. And of course, lawful businesses in the state, they like to track their employees and through the compensation. And we are a nation that does tax income. So no one wants to break the law unless you're a radical leftist, and then of course laws only apply to conservatives. But so a fascinating story, and I think it's important that we learn the stories of these illegal immigrants that are coming here because they're not. I mean, the family across the way, they had duplicate signs in the same handwriting. I asked him if that family was with them, and he wouldn't answer that. And once again, I got to believe it's hard to be in a position where you're not trusting of people. But at the same time, we have no idea who's running the operation, if it is an operation.
Yeah.
And that's my concern.
Yeah.
Who's running the operation? How are these people being funneled? Is it Governor Abbott in Texas? What's happening? Because there's nobody communicating about it. Do you see Chris Coos or Boca out there talking about this?
Nope.
They're the mayors of this community. They should be bringing this forward to say, hey, listen, who's that standing on the corner? It used to be relatively homeless people. You could tell they were semi-homeless people that probably were hanging out downtown Bloomington, abundant life, just existing.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's predominantly, we're seeing people on the corners are people that probably aren't American.
Well, and you bring this up, and the other day, and I should have took some photographs. I should have just done it. I was just busy, and I went into Walmart, and I thought it was bizarre. There was probably about a group of about 50 Mexican-looking people, and I'm not trying to it's just the facts. And they were doing something outside of the Walmart that was bizarre. They had all kinds of materials. And they were wrapping things up
that they had purchased,
yeah, and they had the bags, so it was all purchased. It wasn't like they were thieving or anything like that. What they were doing, they were wrapping things up. It almost appeared to be like meat, food, things like that, and they were wrapping things up in these bags, and they were shoving them into backpacks. And I didn't see a bus, I didn't see anything like that, but there was a whole group of them outside of the Walmart here, off of Veterans Parkway, and I thought to myself, what is this all? What is this? 50 people, and they've got backpacks, and they're backpacking in Bloomington Normal. This isn't the woods, right? They're not hiking.
You're right. No, and I've seen them crossing veterans in large groups. Mostly the people I see crossing veterans are mostly men.
Yes, I should also make note of that. The people I saw outside of the Walmart that day, all military-aged men, which I thought was strange, right?
Well, so I mean, this opens up so many avenues to go down, and I think it's important as a community we know who is in our community, and this is why I gotta believe that Matt Lane, our county sheriff, ultimately the jurisdiction lies there. I want to hear about who are these folks. I mean, the town of Normal and the city of Bloomington, obviously, their police chiefs need to start coming forward and making statements because something is happening. And the Walmart situation is interesting because this family that I got to know a little bit and learn about their story, they asked if I would take them to Walmart and buy them baby formula.
Oh.
So they weren't even asking for cash. They were asking for sustenance for this little person
and it
that
just
they have.
speaks to whoever's running this operation, getting them here, right? Making these signs. Whoever's running it isn't doing it well because there's babies who need to be fed, right? Like it clearly it's not a good thing.
In a Biden economy, we have plenty of American babies that aren't getting adequate formula and
you
food,
couldn't even take
and our
them.
shelves are empty.
Yeah. There's no baby formula on the shelves right now. So even if you could take them to the Walmart, right? If you did take them to the Walmart to get the baby formula, most likely they wouldn't even be able to get it. I've seen it before. I think there's some brands out there that are stocked-ish, but still to this day, the baby formula is understocked. So I don't know. It's
Well,
just
and this young father was perplexed that when I asked him how it was going, sitting there in the corner, were you gathering a lot of money? He said, surprisingly, he said no. He said he thought that Americans were more generous. And I said, well, I got to give you some insight. You know, we're living in an economy right now where most of these people have leveraged themselves into cars they can't afford, houses they can't afford, clothes they can't afford, and they're driving around. It is truly the walking dead because they they can't even bring themselves to roll down the window and give you something they don't even have. Now, while I was interviewing or getting to learn the story about this family, a lady came walking up. She had pizza from a local pizzeria there on the corner of Landmark in College, and she handed them a box of the cheese pizza. And the little 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl instantly grabbed that pizza. She was hungry. And she was by no means overweight. She was very slender, and she was ready to eat. So they were sitting out there. They didn't appear to have adequate hydration, uh, food, and so it's interesting that people are. And I told her, I said, people all have a heart. They see you sitting out there, $5, they're going to give you a pizza so you can eat today. But I wanted to know, what was your long-term plan?
yeah, because
This
you aren't
day-to-day
going
living.
to
What are you
be
going to
able to
do?
panhandle enough to get a roof over your head, especially in today's economy, where in Bloomington Normal, you're in Bloomington Normal. You know how much a house costs?
Yeah,
$227,000. Do you have
yeah,
a down payment for that kind of stuff? Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know.
It,
It's sad.
it's
DPP, we've got to get to some sponsors and end the show here, but I'm very excited to continue talking about this on Friday. I think we're going to be talking about it
yeah.
tomorrow. So I'm hoping
We're
to
gonna
get
get
this
him.
family.
We're gonna try to get John in the studio tomorrow.
Okay. All right, DPP. You have a great one, and thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. We got to go to break, get to our sponsors, and then I'll be back to end the show. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here today on the Morning Buzz. I so do appreciate it. If you are watching on the live stream, smash the like button and share this out with your friends. It's been a great show. We talked about so much today. We talked about Chip Roy just totally shredding Jerry Nadler for saying that it's child abuse to not mask up your 2-year-olds. Yes, he said that in 2023. We also talked about some middle schoolers in Massachusetts who rebelled against Pride celebration. We talked about JB's rumor bill. We also talked with David Paul Blumenschein about a Romanian family, how they went to Mexico City, then to Texas, and then got up to Bloomington normal. And they were out on the street with a patio umbrella and lawn chairs, panhandling. This is America. This is Bloomington normal. So that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 6 a.m. bright and early. It's Friday tomorrow. So today is Friday Eve. We'll be back at it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Love you.